Hi and welcome to Journey to a Dream, brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance. I'm going to get straight into today's introduction with a warning, actually, first of all. There will be some swear words, so if you're easily offended, I do apologise. There are also some fantastic sound effects, but essentially, one of our guests today really needs very, very little introduction if you are a fan of racing over here on the Isle of Man.
Yeah, my name is Richard Milky Quayle, ex-TT rider. For the last 19 years I've worked on the TT, so help organise the TT, rider liaison officer, teach all the newcomers, do lots of other little jobs around the paddock as well, so dart line, parc fermé, and lots of things, so that's me.
My name's Illiam Quayle. I race in the No Limit Super Series 1000 Championship and as well at Derby, and my ambition is to be at the TT next year.
I'm just going to say, first of all, Milky, there could have been no doubt ever when Illiam was growing up what he was going to do.
Yeah, I was doomed really. First real memory was it when he was about 2 years of age, and all kids are interested in Teletubbies and Balamory and all this rubbish, and obviously he had his own telly and sort of thing, and we had DVDs and stuff, and I walked in and he's watching a TT video, and I was like, at 2 years of age, and I'm like, oh no. So that was it really. I was pretty much destined that he was always wanting to do it. So. And
Illiam, do you ever remember a time without bikes at all?
No, never interested in anything else, no football, nothing. All my mates would go and play football down the park or whatever, and it was just always bikes, nothing else. Never.
And Milky, for you then, just take us back to where it all started for you, because presumably there were bikes in your family. Is that where your interest came from?
Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, ultimately, my dad, unfortunately, we didn't have much money and stuff, so, my dad had bikes when he was little, but then when me and my brother come along, and he had to obviously sell that and be sensible and buy a car, a Mini Clubman or something, I think it was. So my dad loved his bikes, always did, but he never had one when I was growing up, because he couldn't afford it. But he would always take me to watch the TT, and as soon as I was old enough, we'd be out watching the TT or the sandwiches, and my mum up to Brandywell, and that's where my interest came from my dad. My dad loved it, that's all he was interested in, pretty much all. He'd love to have done it, but he didn't have the finances to do it. He loved it, and he used to marshal and stuff, and at the Southern 100 I used to sit at Balown Dip, I used to sit on the gate post as a little lad. My dad would say, right, don't move from there, you stay there. And so, it's just, I think in the Isle of Man, I think it's in your DNA a little bit, isn't it? If you're Manx and you're just brought up round it, it's the best spectacle in the world, isn't it? Whether it's the Southern 100, the Manx Grand Prix, the TT, it's just bike racing's just fantastic, isn't it? So it's just it's, I suppose, like you say, it's just in your blood really.
And at what point then did it become more serious for you and racing become a real thing?
Well, again, I used to just buzz around on my BMX as a nipper, and I was like, that's all. Again, I just like Joey Dunlop and Steve Islop and stuff. They were my heroes, and Brian Reed and stuff. They were my heroes of when I was riding around on my push bike outside my house. I was in doing a TT race. That's what I was doing. I was in a TT race with them boys, and it just progressed from there really. And it was only when, as soon as I was 16, I got a little 125, and I'd be out on my 125 buzzing around the TT course, and all my mates would be like, come on, let's go down the port and let's go for a pint, and I'd be like, no, I just want to do a lap. And that's all. Honestly, it was mental really. You look back at it now and you think, oh geez, I was pretty much addicted to it, and I wasn't interested again in drinking and going out. It was just like I just wanted to go for a lap on my little 125 around the TT course, and it's just something I've always wanted to do. And even Beth, even this year I did like 3 or 4 laps this year around the TT course, and every lap round the TT course on the closed roads, it's phenomenal. Whatever speed you're doing, whether it's fast or slow, a closed road lap round the TT course, it's just like, oh my God, you're in heaven. Obviously he's going to experience that next year, and it's such a special thing that we have, and it's mental. It's mental. We are crackers, really. We are crackers.
It's interesting. You said something just before we started recording that really getting into this is a life choice. And I think you can see that. You do give up so much to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, no one's holding a gun against our heads. It's not as though we're like in the war and you're having to go over the trenches. We all choose to do it. You are all mental. It's we are all bonkers, really. But it's something that we love to do, and it's absolutely amazing. It is the best thing that you'd ever. I mean, yes. Me as a dad, I don't want him to do it. I don't want my boy to go down Braille on a 200-mile-an-hour superbike. And as a dad, I want to protect him and keep him safe. But as a ex-rider and a rider, I just want to go, yeah, you go on, boy, you go and do it. You go and enjoy yourself, And he's not a kid now. He's a man now, isn't he? So he's got to live his own life and experience, what he wants to do with it. So everyone says, well, can you name TT in one word? And it's just you can't really, because there's just so many expletives to say about it, and it's just phenomenal, isn't it? It's just phenomenal.
Illiam, what's he been like as a teacher for you?
It's been good, like just having someone with that experience in my corner. We haven't actually been out for a lap yet because obviously he's been busy with Manx Grand Prix newcomers and TT newcomers, but even going up through the ranks back in the mini motor days or pit bike days, just someone that's been there and done it and has got the experience. So little bits of knowledge that he's learned over the years is then being passed down to me to stop making the mistakes that he made, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I've not taken him round, purposefully not taken him round, because I didn't want to stoke the fire too early. It was just like, no, because he's like, Dad, can you take me? Because I mean, whenever I go for a newcomer's lap, it pretty much takes me like 4 hours from the first time they're in the car to when they get back out again, and because I want to tell them everything. I want to tell them where all the problems are, all the good bits are. It's full on. It's a full on lap. There's a lot of information to take on. But like I say, I didn't want to stoke the fire But once we get Manx Grand Prix over and done with, then we're going to work really hard through the winter then. But to be fair, again, he's always going for laps on his own and with his mates. And once we've got the Manx out of the way, then we can sit down and we can really knuckle down on the homework side of things, really, the teacher-student thing. So.
What's fascinating is having spoken to so many people in this series so far, and they all talk about watching the onboard laps, and obviously you feature so highly in those. And Illiam, are you watching your dad going round? Is that the sort of training visually that you've been doing?
Yeah, so I've been watching all sorts of laps on YouTube and just before I go to bed. Like I was just saying there, with the bits of knowledge, I remember him saying, when I've obviously been around in the paddock and stood next to him as a kid and he's speaking to newcomers, and he always said, watch it before you go to bed, the last thing you do, so then it's in your mind when you're going to sleep. So I'll watch a lap before I go to bed and then close my eyes and then try and visualise it of what I've just seen, then get to sleep. So just small stuff like that. And whenever you've got a spare 15 minutes or whatever, like going to the toilet or something, for example, you can just sit and watch a lap on your phone.
We've learned an awful lot about you there, just there. It was interesting listening to what your dad was saying, is that actually when he was sort of in his later teenage years, he wasn't really that bothered about going out drinking and stuff like that. Would you say that's your experience as well?
Mine's a bit different because obviously I had, halfway through 2022, with obviously buying Paramount and stuff, that takes up the extra bit of cash that you go racing with. I wasn't riding anything for a year, so I didn't give it up. It was still in the back of my mind and I still wanted it, but there was just no real opportunities that arose. So I was being a teenager, essentially going to the pub a couple of times with my mates and stuff. And then Phil Pulteney of Manx Legend Racing, he gave me an offer. It would have been this time last year, so July 23, and he gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. And then I got my head back down then, and I've worked hard, and I've worked hard up until this point to get to where we're at.
And how much pressure do you feel being Milky's son?
Not much, really. When I was younger, maybe it got to me, looking back now, but not anymore. I'm comfortable and happy enough with my own riding ability and performance to not feel the pressure as such.
Milky, then, take us back to that first time that you went round on your own around the TT course on closed roads. What do you remember about it?
Yeah, geez. Well, I always say to these lads, you never forget your first lap round a TT course, because it is just, if you've lived all your whole life and that's always been your dream, to be able to fulfill it is just, it's the best feeling in the world. And I started a little bit different than the kids nowadays. The young lads, they don't ride on the road on a motorbike anymore. Do you mean, you don't see many young lads on motorbikes anymore, because one, they can't get insurance, and two, their mums and dads won't let them because the roads are so busy and too dangerous. And so whereas I started a little bit different, like I say, as soon as I was 16, I got my road bike to give me freedom, and that was the only way I could really get on the road because I couldn't afford to buy a car. So little 125, I used to ride to work and back, and then that was my weekend playing thing. And I started riding around on the road on a Sunday afternoon with all my mates, and that's how I learnt the course effectively, I suppose, from just riding around on the open roads. And when you're riding around the open roads, you've got buses and trucks and cars, and it's a bit like wacky races out there, it really is. And then for the first time you go down Bray Hill and the roads are closed, you can use all the road legally, and normally you'd only be allowed to go through there at 30 miles an hour, and then the next thing you do 150 mile an hour through there. It's like Kurt Michael, for instance. I always remember going through Kurt Michael, and I was thinking, Jesus, I'm doing 150 odd, like I was on the TZ250, I was going 150 odd mile an hour through Kurt Michael, and you had to do 30 miles an hour through there. It's just like, wow, this is just amazing. And the police that would normally be chasing you are stood there watching you and cheering you on. It's just like, wow, yeah. So yeah, no, it's your first ever lap. It's like the feeling of freedom. It's just like, wow, this is what I've dreamt of, and this is what I'm doing. So it is, if it's been, like, say, your lifelong goal, to be able to fulfill it, it's the best.
And not only were you able to fulfil that goal, but you were incredibly good at it as well. You've stood on that top step a number of times. You've broken lap records.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was lucky, and I was able to do fulfil my dream, but then obviously to be good at it as well was a bonus, I suppose. And it was just, I never really went into the thinking I wanted to win it. I was just enjoying myself, and I always think like anything in life, as long as you're enjoying it, that's the most important thing. I think some people get too hooked up on, I need to perform, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's just enjoy yourself. That's positional size of things. If you're enjoying yourself, you'll get a good result. I think it's a bit like work, and you put too much pressure on yourself, you always mess it up, don't you? As if you just go in there and just freestyle it and just enjoy yourself and have some fun, then you get a lot more out of it, I think. So yeah, a lot of pressure gets put. That's why, again, coming to my job now with newcomers, everyone's like, Milky, who's going to be the fastest newcomer this year? And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Sorry,
it's fine, you can swear.
I don't give a shit. Just as long as they all get round safe and sound, that's all that bothers me. I'm not interested in speed. As long as they all qualify and they get to race and they all go home at the end of it, then that's job done for me. Everyone's had a good run, they've enjoyed it, and they've gone home safe. And then next year they can go a little bit faster, and then next year a little bit faster, and a little bit faster. And that's when, like we were saying earlier, that's when you earn your right to stand on the top of the podium. All those lads that are standing up there spraying champagne, they've worked hard. They've been through the rubbish bits at the bottom where they're not knowing where they're going and struggling a little bit, and then they're just working harder and harder and harder and harder, and to get the results. And you've got to. It's like anything in life, Beth, innit? You've got to dig in. Nothing's given to you. Even if you're the richest man in the world, if you're the richest man in the world and you wanted to win a TT, it wouldn't happen. All right, you might be able to buy the best bike, the best team, the best whatever, but there'd still be some lad that wants it more than you that would beat you. And so that's what you've just got to do, innit? You just got to dig in.
Just talking about the newcomers, I wonder what it's like feeling what must be a huge responsibility for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's I only went for, like I say, I just had the Manx Grand Prix sign-off weekend last weekend, and there's 30 of them in the room, and I'm looking around the room, and I actually said that to him. I says, look, boys, in some ways I feel a little bit jealous of yous all, because I know what they're just about to experience in 5 weeks' time. They're going to be going down Bray Hill, and they're going to experience the best thing that they've ever done in their whole life. And I'm jealous of that. I want that myself. I would love to have that feeling again, because it is just, like I say, just the best thing in the world to do. So they are your little babies. They are the little, you get. Obviously, you get to know them all, and when incidents do happen, it kicks you in the kahunas. It's hard, but again, at least I always think at least they're able to fulfill their dream. We are. In some ways, I feel a bit like a drug dealer. I'm able to give them their fix. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't be able to, but you are able to let them have their fix, and it's just, it's. I keep going on about it, saying it's phenomenal, and it is sensational. And I think you have to be on the bike and experience it to realise what it is, and it is just the best thing. If you're into motorbikes, and this is, it is the best racetrack in the world. And sometimes I think I get a bit annoyed sometimes when people start slagging the TT off a little bit and this, that, and the other, and you're like, but you don't realise. Some people don't realise what amazing thing that we've got on our doorstep. It is like the best road race it's the best motorcycle race in the world, full stop. And people come from all around the world, all different ages, groups and nationalities, all just to come to see our little island in the middle of the Irish Sea to ride around our circuit. It's just, it is phenomenal. Hopefully Illiam's going to experience that and, go safe and steady, and he'll understand what I mean. But I can see the glint in his eye already. He knows because he's been around it all his life, he knows how infused I get over it, so a little bit's bound to rub off on him, I suppose. So he just, like say, I just want him to go steady and be careful.
What are you like when you're dad on the sidelines watching him race?
Oh, I'm terrible. Honestly, I'm terrible. I am the worst dad. I get so nervous, even at Derby or any short, because I think it's because I've been through it. Yes, I want him to enjoy it and stuff, but I just get so nervous because I know the slightest second you can get it wrong and you hurt yourself and you're bloody in hospital. It is ruthless. It's proper ruthless. It's a serious game and it's dangerous, and short track's dangerous, just as dangerous as it is TT. People used to say to me, "Oh, TT's dangerous." I'm like, as soon as you throw your leg over any motorbike at any particular time, it's dangerous. They are dangerous things. If you tried to invent them now, they would get banned. They would be saying, no, you're not doing that. They are dangerous things, whether you're just going to work on your bike or just going down Bray Hill. It's just as dangerous. We're not supposed to be sat on a 200-mile-an-hour thing, are we? So, yeah.
Illiam, where do you stand on that? You're just recovering from an injury at the moment, so you know the potential is there to hurt yourself. But what do you feel about that whole sort of side of things?
The way I see it is, as soon as you put your leg over a motorbike, you're putting yourself in danger, no matter where it's at. But as long as you're riding within your ability and you're not stupid, then of course it's not safe. But as long as you're in control and you know where your limits are, and you're not putting anybody else in danger, then it's fine.
And do you have your little dad's voice? I'm not calling you little, sorry. Do you have your dad's little voice in your ear sort of saying, right, go steady?
Yeah, like every time he goes out, I'll go out, it's always like, oh, just take it easy. But then he also knows as soon as the visor goes down, then it's a different story. If you're in the middle of a race, you're not going to go steady, you're wanting to win.
I remember one time, my dad, bless him up there, he's probably up there looking down at me now, and I remember one time I had a bit of an argument with him before the TT, and purely for the fact that he came to me and says, oh, go steady, son, go slow, don't go too fast, go steady. And I'm like, I snapped at him and I said, Denzel, I says, I'm trying to win this effing race. I says, you telling me to go slow and steady doesn't help. I says, just stay out of it. And so, it's just one of those things, again, when you're trying to win something, and, I'd rather you just said, go on, go for it, and blow it out of the park, or rather than go steady, be careful, because again it's like a negative vibe in your head, and all mind games in it, you don't want them sort of things going on through your head, I suppose. So yeah, it's difficult. Like say, in one way I want to wrap him up in cotton wool, and the other way I want to go on boy, give it the full Monty. So yeah, like say he's a man now, and he's got to live his life and enjoy it. Yeah, crack on.
I mean, obviously you loved it so much. Clearly, there'd still be the issue of nerves, presumably, before a race. Was that something you suffered from particularly, or were you...
Yeah, I mean, I was always looking, and I think he's got that off me as well, because I never really got that nervous, to be fair. I always thought to myself, it's pointless getting nervous, because some people like are weeing and pooing and before the race and throwing up and all sorts of things. I mean, whereas for me, I was like, well, what's the point in doing all that? Because I want to concentrate on the race. And yes, you've got nerves. If you've not got nerves, you're not right. I mean, you need to have those nerves to keep you switched on and keep you focused and keep you alert. You need that's why we all get nervous, to get your heart rate up, isn't it? To fight whatever's coming at you. So yeah, it's nerves are, again, it's keeping control of your nerves. And like I say, I'm lucky that he's got, probably from his mum's side of things,
yeah, definitely a bit of both.
Yeah. His mum's dead laid back, so laid back, and in some ways I get annoyed sometimes because he's too laid back. He's a bit like Connor, and he's just like do, and just dead chilled, and I want him to be a bit more like come on, go. But yeah, it's only he can work that out, and that's up to him, isn't it? So yeah.
Illiam will spend his nerves sitting there watching an onboard on the toilet, presumably. But sort of the nerve side of things doesn't really bother you then?
No, not at all. Like, I can be sat there having a conversation whilst I'm putting my helmet on, sitting on the bike, still having a conversation, and go and race just as hard, whether you sit there with music on in your headphones for 20 minutes before. No nerves. Well, obviously there is nerves, but not, like he said, I don't shut down or shut people out. 10 minutes before a race, I'm throwing my levers on, and they're like, come on, you're in 10 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, it's got 10 minutes.
Trade alert, eh?
Yeah, trade alert. I think it's just something I picked up from him and my mum. Everything in life, I'm laid back, racing aside, day-to-day life. I've got to be there in 10 minutes, so I'll leave in 9, do you know what I mean? But I think it's a good trait to have going into road racing, because if you're worked up and you're maybe not focused because you're so nervous and your mind's going a million miles an hour before you even set off because you're so anxious and nervous, I don't think that's the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, aggression's a dangerous thing, to be fair, in motorbike racing. I always think, yes, you need to have the hunger and the desire, but if you're too aggressive, then it bites you on the ass. It's all in calculated measures. It has to be calculated. And again, you look at like Michael, for instance, when he first started, everyone was like, oh, he's crazy, he's mental, and I think it was just a persona he put on just to scare everybody, and everyone was like, oh yeah, I'm staying clear of him. And all the lads are very calculated. You have got a certain percentage that are possibly a little bit, when the visor comes down, the brain goes. But in road racing, that you can't afford to be that way. You've got to think. I always say you got to use your head, not your heart. It's a thinker man's game. And I always say that to all my newcomers: use this, not this. Use your head. And you've got to always think about things. And as long as you're thinking and knowing what you're coming to, then generally 9 out of 10 times you're going to be all right. It's when you just ride with your heart and you're not just like, you can't do that here. You've got to think a man's game. In short track racing and in short circuit racing, you've got to be a bit more aggressive. That's the difference between coming to the TT and a short track where you've got 40 other lads around you. You've got to be defensive and aggressive to hold your position. Whereas if you're a little bit like, on after you, then you're just going to get beaten up and you'll finish last. So you've got to have that aggression. But when you're on your own running around the TT course, you need to relax and just let it come to you. Whereas if you try and grab it and force it, then that's when you start to make mistakes and go slower. And it's a real unique race, the TT. That's what's so unique about it, is the fact that everything's completely different oddity to what you've ever been brought up from. Him riding mini motors at 6 years of age, he's always raced with like 30 or 40 other lads, and whereas all of a sudden in June next year he's going to be going down Bray Hill on his own. That's hard for lads to calculate. They can't do that. They have to follow somebody or be with somebody. So it's difficult. Yeah, it is difficult. It's, like I say, it's completely outside their natural thing of what they've ever been used to. So, yeah.
Illiam, why straight away the TT and not MGP?
As a Manx rider, you're under so much pressure to turn up to the Manx Grand Prix and have a result, especially with the surname as well. I think maybe a little bit more pressure would come from that. So I'm more than happy just to go to the TT and qualify and finish 39th for my first TT. Enjoy it, like he said, qualify, enjoy it, and then next year a little bit faster, a little bit faster, and a little bit faster. Instead of going to the Manx and you get there and you're P3 -1 or something, and you don't know where you're going because it's your first year, and then you make a stupid mistake. Whereas you can go to the TT, under the radar, qualify, enjoy it, have fun, and come back next year.
Whatever you've instilled has clearly been received.
Also as well, I mean, don't get me wrong, I started for the Manx Grand Prix. I love the Manx Grand Prix, but for me, I crashed my brains out in the first year, broke McCallan's lap records the second night of practice, then I broke myself off on the Thursday. So, like Illy says, as a Manx lad, there's a certain amount of pressure on you instantly that, okay, you live here, you should win it. I always remember a fella saying to me in the pub one time, I said, oh yeah, I'm looking to do the Manx Grand Prix. I says, I'm going to have to swear again, Beth.
That's
sorry.
okay.
He says, if you don't win that, you're a wanker. I was like, oh. So I instantly had pressure on me then straight away that, I need to win it. And like I say, I went out, the first night of practice was in heaven. And we're like, oh yeah. And then it all came naturally to me and I went fast. And then next thing is then you get people trying to interview you. And I was just a little car mechanic, do you know what I mean? And all these people putting microphones in front of your face and asking interviews and papers, and you're like, and it just all consumes you a little bit too much. So, and then I wrote myself off then on the Thursday, and I never even got to do my first Manx Grand Prix. Never even, So I didn't want. In some ways, I'm glad that he doesn't want to do it either, because he understands that, and he can just go to the TT, finish. As long as he qualifies and finishes last, I'll be dead happy. I'll be just dead happy. So, just nothing. Nothing too fast, too soon. Just serve your apprenticeship, like I say, and then just build your speeds up. Then, there's no bullet from a gun. I don't want a bullet from a gun. Whereas at the Manx, I think there's a lot of pressure on a local lad to do that. If you're just John Smith from Scarborough, then nobody knows you. It's like, oh yeah, he's a good rider. He goes well. Whereas if you're Manx and everyone's like, oh well, he should win it. He should win it. Where are you going? So yeah, I mean, this year the big bike race is 121 mile an hour is the cut-off point. You have to do 121 to qualify for the senior in the superbike race. So that's shifting. It's hard. It's going to be hard for the lad, But I think if he wasn't up for it, I wouldn't be wanting him to do it. I'd say, well, no, let's sit out. But riding good, going good. He's sensible. He's done his apprenticeship effectively. So, I'm happy to go down. So I'll have a go. So yeah.
Something I think people get surprised about is just how physical it is being on the bike. And Ilya, I don't know from your point of view, you're not a small person either.
No.
So the beating, I suppose, that your body takes when you're racing can be quite immense. How do you cope with that side of things?
It's always the same. You can train as much as you want in the gym through the winter and through the season, but when you first throw your leg over that bike for that first session at the start of March, whatever, your body is hurting in places you didn't know. You could take pain. You've always said, if your cardio's good, then the rest will almost sort itself out. Obviously, you've got your abs and stuff like that you've got to work hard for, and your legs to turn the bike. But on the 600 and stuff, it doesn't really matter. But when I jumped on the big bike for the first time this year, it takes some wrestling around to get that thing to turn. It doesn't want to turn at 140, 50 mile an hour. The thing just doesn't want to turn. And as a big lad, I'm quite lucky because I can use the leverage I've got to turn the bike. But yeah, the beating that your body gets it's intense.
And it's even things like your neck muscles and things like that, just that sort of holding that position.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? You try and stick your head out of the sunroof at 200 mile an hour and see how long your head stays on your shoulders. And it is. I say to all the lads, you've got to do your gym work. And yes, it's boring. Some lads love the gym. They're proper gym junkies. But for me, I hated it. I just hated people grunting next to you lifting weights and ka-dink, and you're like, oh, I'd rather just be out running or cycling or I was thinking, as long as your cardio's good, then your heart's pumping blood around your body and it can pump the blood to your brain, and ultimately the fitter you are, the less your brain has to worry about running itself and can concentrate on where it's going. So that's why fitness is so important for the TT, and it's yes, you don't you don't need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's going to hinder you because you're going to
get into the levers would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So it's you don't need to be like a demigod to do it, but you just need that basic level of fitness, like a real good level of fitness, whereas at least if you're not, you're just nice and relaxed and trying to keep your heart rate down, trying to stay as relaxed as possible. So the fitter you are, the easier it's going to be. I often laugh at people and they think, well, they spent like £10,000 to get their engine tuned, and I'm thinking, just stop eating cheeseburgers and go to the gym for 6 months and you'll get to a mile an hour faster, and it's an easy gain, isn't it, really? Yeah, it's hard. It's just full on. You've got to spend a lot of effort and time on it, but that's like anything in life, you've just got to put your effort in, just got to try, dig in deep and try. And as long as you're happy with yourself and think, well, at least I tried my best, then you can't be disappointed then, can you? Or you can be disappointed, but at least you know that you've tried your best. It's always hard I always think when you have naturally talented motorbike riders, whenever I get newcomers that are naturally talented, it's harder for them because they're naturally talented, they don't train so much, or they don't do the homework and stuff, and I'm like, no, you need to do this. It's hard. And they think, well, yeah, well, I know where I'm going, and I'm always good to learn tracks, and I'm a good rider. I can suss it. But then this place it's a real leveler. It really knocks it out of you. So you've got to, and it's hard for a good rider to knuckle down to do that. Like I say, it's probably harder for the faster lads than it is for the slower lads, because at least the slower lad knows, right, okay, I need to work at this and work hard at it, whereas the faster lad thinks, oh, well, yeah, I'm a rock star, I can sort this, but it soon becomes apparent that you can't. But there again, they've got the ability then to work at that and get it right. So everyone starts at different levels, but generally by the end of the week, everyone gets to the same position where they're all good.
You talked a little bit about the pressure you felt being from the Isle of Man, and somebody said, MGP, you should win it. And I think it's fair to say you very quickly became a bit of an icon in the sport, just became instantly recognisable, didn't you? And people really followed your progress and wanted to see how you were doing. And I just wonder what that was like as it grew more intense, perhaps.
Yeah. Obviously, it's nice to be recognised and stuff, and that's all good. But it's just about having time for people, isn't it? It's like in any form of life, you've got to be pleasant to people, and some people will build a fan base and they won't service it. I always think if people are, you run around a paddock, like you've seen us run around a paddock, and someone will stop for and want an autograph or a selfie and stuff. I love that, because I think to myself, well, if they're willing to go out of their way to ask me for a photograph, I'm like, of course I'll give you a photograph. I'm not going to say, oh no, sorry mate, I'm too busy. And it's like, of course I would do. It's an honour, innit? So you should always, again, my dad always brought me, treat others as you like to be treated yourself, son, and that's the way you should always. I think if everyone did that in our life, geez, this is getting really heavy now. But if everyone treated everyone the same, treated as they like to be treated, then we'd be in a better place in it. Because again, everyone's just after their own little bit, aren't they? They're only after their own little bit, but it's, be nice to everybody, haven't you? And the event's a bit like that as well. I try to, on event, it's difficult because I understand everyone's under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of strain, but we're there to make the event good for everybody, not just for one person. Whereas lots of people will come along and they think, well, I can get an advantage over him if I get this. And it's really hard for that. And you got to say, look, fella, I understand your issues, but we've got these issues as well that we've got to try and sort out. So it's a real fine balancing act to try and keep everybody happy. And I know you can't keep everybody happy, but again, you've just got to be nice to people, haven't you? And to say, it's like saying hello and goodbye to someone, and smiling at someone. It makes someone's day, doesn't it? It's just, and it costs you nothing. That's the way I always look at it. So you've just got to be nice to people, haven't you?
With such a love for the sport, and as we've talked about, and we haven't gone through in detail, but we talked about some of your successes. How on earth did you make the decision to give it up?
Obviously, racing was life. It always has been, always will be, and. But next to motorbikes, all I ever wanted in life was a family, and ultimately he came along. So that was the pivotal thing, was to give it up. Because listen, some lads can race with their family and 6 kids and whatever, but I couldn't do that. When you're on your own, you're just concentrating on yourself, and it is a very selfish sport. It's a real selfish sport, and I always felt sorry for the wives and the families, because it's 100%. You can't. For me, I couldn't have things going on in the background. I couldn't have me kids waving me goodbye on the start line, and then me coming to Ballagary thinking, right, I need to nail this. I need to get through here as fast as possible. But that's, everyone's different, aren't they? Everyone's completely different in life. But for me, I wouldn't be able to operate like that. So as soon as Liddy said she was pregnant, I was like, right, well, that's it, and that's game over sort of thing for me, and like I say, everyone's different and got to prioritise, I suppose, again, because money's tight, and no matter where you are in the sport, everyone's still got the budgets and stuff, and money is tight, and I couldn't look at my kids and go, oh, shit, I need to put shoes on them or new school uniform, and no, I need to buy tyres for my motorbike. One's going to have to give, isn't it? So it's different if you've got a really good sponsor and really good loads of money and back, and then it's fine. But for me, at my level at the time, I couldn't do that. I couldn't warrant that. I wasn't, because again, yes, I had success, but financially wise, it's not a good thing to be spending all your money on motorbikes and tyres and fuel, and it's uber expensive. Do you know what I mean? But it's uber amazing as well, so you don't mind that so much. But when I say, for me, when family comes along, you've got to prioritise and you've got to be responsible for your kids, haven't you, and your family and your wife. And getting heavy again now. Jesus.
And that came not that long after, I think, where you were involved in that pretty significant incident, which has been replayed several times. So I'm just wondering if that played a part in it as well.
Not really. No, ultimately, 2003 was going to be my last year, whether won it or lost it. Do you know what I mean? To be fair, if Suzuki had come to me with a £50,000 contract the year after, I'd have said no, because I'd already made that decision to say no. 2002 was a mega year for me. It was amazing. I won the TT, I won the Classic Manx Grand Prix that same year. It was just, I was on a roll. It was brilliant. I was riding good. But then in the winter, I was still working when they were building the new power station. I was a security guard there at the weekends and at nights in Marks and Spencer's, stopping people robbing shoes, and and I was working on my day job as well, just to try and get the money together to pay for my tyre bill from the previous season. And you're thinking, there's more to it. Even when I got to the top of the ladder, and I didn't have a ride that following, for 2003, I had no ride effectively, no bikes or anything. And I thought, you know what, I've given up to then 20 odd years of my life to it. I just thought maybe that's as much as I'm getting. So that's why, that was the pivotal reason to think, right, well, now I want to concentrate on my family. I'd already made the decision to retire. Then, you see, that was the thing. I always think it's hard for lads when they crash and they get hurt and damage their arm and they can't, move their hand or something, and then they still want to race, but they can't. I always think that's a lot harder. But I'd already given up. In my head, I'd already given up the fact that that's the end of my racing now. I need to grow up effectively. And so for me, it was easy. But you get it all the time. Like, people say, John McGuinness, you should give up now. And I'm like, no, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. No, as long as you still want to do it, you should be able to still do it. Do you know what I mean? He's still very, very fast. He's still very, able to do it. So why put pressure on the lad and say, he needs to give up just because he's an age? An age is just a number, and it doesn't mean nothing. When you've had enough, I suppose. And that's pretty much after 2000, the winter of 2003, and I just thought, that's it. It broke me a little bit, really, just because it was just everything. Because again, I'd always done it 100%. All my cards are on the table. I just threw everything in and gone. Well, that's pretty much the way I operate anyway, on everything. I just thought, it's not happening. So I thought, right, let's draw a line under that and let's go and have a family, and that's pretty much how it happened, yeah.
So where did the chance to work still within the TT and MGP come from then, as a liaison officer? Yeah,
well, it was lucky because myself and Paul, we were still, Paul Phillips, a good friend of mine, and we were obviously just so passionate about the TT, and we could see that it was dropping off a little bit. And we had I don't know if you can remember the TT chat shows we used to set up down the Villa and stuff. And then at the time, it was Dave Cretney was the Minister of Fun, good old Davey, and his secretary or next in command was Carol Glover. They could see the TT was dropping off a little bit. So we were just two young lads, effectively, and so they just called us in for a meeting and said, look, just give us your ideas on how we can make the TT move on and stuff and change. And so we just went and said to them, and we went in, just said, look, this is what you need to do. And so lucky enough, they said, well, look, do you fancy coming and helping us out to try and change it? And that was 2005, I think it was. And yeah, we've been on it ever since, really, just trying to, and again, I feel so sorry for Paul. It gets such a battering from social media idiots, and we're all doing this job to try and make it better, not make it worse. And everyone seems to be thinking that we're trying to kill it and deal it, and you're like, no, it's quite the opposite. We want to make it, we want to show it off as a spectacle to the rest of the world of what a wonderful thing that we've got. And like I say, you've got all these keyboard warriors that are always whinging and moaning about everything. It frustrates me a little bit, that, and you're just thinking, geez, we're trying to work so hard on this. As a team, we've got such a good team on the motorsport team that we just want it to succeed, and you always get these negative idiots that are always just trying to bat you down, and you're just like, shut up, you don't even know what you're talking about. So yeah, but it's every year's a challenge. Every year it gets harder and harder, if anything, by people that just try and batter you, and you're like, no, we're looking to try and make this job bigger and better for everybody. And It's hard going, 19 years or whatever it is. You know, we still love it, we still enjoy it. I mean, that's why we're doing it. I think, again, if we didn't enjoy it, it would just be a job and stuff, and it wouldn't be as enjoyable. But you've always, again, you've got to enjoy your job. I'm sure you enjoy your job. We are lucky, really.
And one of the things that people always comment on about you, Milky, is that obviously you're there, you take newcomers around on their lap, but very often you'll be there with a brush in your hand or picking up litter or just, there's no job that you won't do, which is probably, and I know what you're going to say to this, but it's probably one of the reasons that you were recognised with the British Empire Medal for outstanding contribution to the Isle of Man road races.
Yeah, no, I mean, geez, that was an honour. It is what it says on the tin, isn't it? It's an honour, and it is. I'm blessed that I got that, and I'm made up that I got that, but I just, again, it goes back to the event. I just want the event to be successful. I want it to be right. Do you know what I mean? And even if it comes down to picking cigarette butts off, that someone that might see it and think, oh, that looks a bit shit, doesn't it? So, but for me, it just, maybe it's my OCD, I don't know, but I just want it right. I just want it right, and why wouldn't you want it right? That's why I can't look at it and think, well, why wouldn't you pick that up? Or why wouldn't you clean that? Well, why wouldn't you move that? For me, it messes with my head. I'm like, no, just rather than asking someone to do it, I'll just do it myself, and it's done then, innit? Put the cigarette butts in my pocket. Next time I'm in the bin, offer them in the, or the chip wrapper, or the can of Coke, it's just, I don't know. I just want I want the event to be good, and again, and the lads, because I say, when it goes back to when I was doing it, I always felt I was like the clown that was paying to entertain the audience. Do you know what I mean? I was there doing it, I was paying for it, and everyone else was getting the benefits from it. So when me and Paul first got involved with Carol and Dave, we said, we have to make the racing good. If you make the racing good, people will come. That's the thing. If the racing's red hot and everyone's going for it, then people will want to watch that entertainment. Whereas if the racing's rubbish, no one's going, what do I want to go and see Lewis Hamilton win again for? So as long as the racing's red hot, then people will want to come on the boat and come and spend their money in the pubs and the taxis and the cafes and the hotels, and that's what it's all about. It's all about for me, it's all about the racing. That's the thing. As long as the racing's red hot, then people will always come to watch it. And as regards to getting newcomers to come and do it, you'll always get people who want to come to do it because it's the best racetrack in the world and it's the best place to ride a motorbike in the world. So I suppose it's an easy sell, I suppose, but you've got all the other little rubbishy bits in between it, that keeping everyone else happy and stop people from whinging and moaning about stupid little things like the price of chips or something. That's the hard bit. Again, we are so lucky to have such a good thing, and like say that the taxpayers and the government pay for it effectively. That's another thing. We are such a fortunate situation, and that's why we have to make it successful. We have to make it so that it creates revenue that the taxpayer can offset that expenditure, and as long as we're getting people to come here and spend their money, then we're halfway there, aren't we? So
Illy, I don't know how many weeks it is till TT 2024. I'm guessing one of you might actually know this, but
actually,
just check it. Your dad's OCD. Just wondered if he had that calculation to mind. But I just wondered if you could give us an idea of what the rest of this year and the start of 2025 is going to look like for you in order to get you on that start line.
So for the rest of this year, we're going to be doing the rest of the No Limits Championships. So the next round of that is in 2 weeks at Brands Hatch. And then I think there might be a wild card on the cards for Alton Park BSB in Stock 1000. And then through the winter, try and get out to Spain, hopefully, once on the bike.
And have you got the bike sorted and everything?
Yeah. So the boys from Manx Legend Racing, Phil and Damien, they bought us the Fireblade at the start of the year. So we've had a good season on that. So I think just stay on that for next year for TT as well. Because another thing that my dad's always said is, if you go there with 3 different bikes, you don't know whether you're coming or going. It's hard enough as it is to learn it on one bike, let alone jumping from bike to bike. So just go there on one bike, you concentrate it, put all your eggs in one basket and do it that way. So yeah, hopefully get out to Spain, hopefully do the start of the Stock 1000 Championship at BSB up until TT, and then see what happens after TT.
That's just money as well.
Yeah, budget.
How are you managing the finance side of things?
I'm really lucky that I've got some good sponsors on board, so Manx Legend Racing, 1411, Body Stat, OFR, everybody. I can't thank them enough for all the help that they've provided us with for this year. Before this year, we've always just done it with mum and dad, basically. It's just been mum and dad, and it's been hard. But this year, we've been fortunate enough to be in a good position with everybody that's come on board and helped us, and I can't thank them enough.
And are the birthday and Christmas presents all bike-related, presumably?
Yeah, definitely.
Beth, it's like I did an interview, I think it was Rob before TT, and I had 3 newcomers drop out at the TT for this year, and purely for the financial reasons. It's so expensive.
Can you give us an idea of a sort of a figure that a newcomer would be looking at?
Well, I mean, ultimately, For the TT, effectively, your entries are free, so we pay for the entries for the TT. The entries for riding on the TT circuit are quite cheap anyway. I always think, the last round of No Limits we went to, it cost us £550, I think it was, for the entries, just for one weekend, whereas I think the Manx Grand Prix entry is like £600. So it's for the value, for the lap time and the value for money, it's dirt cheap here. It is dirt cheap. You're talking £500 an entry, you're paying £600 every time on the boat, you're paying a set of tyres, so... you'll use a rear tyre every time you go out on the bike, and that's £265 every time you go out for a 10-lap race. That's new tyre. So you're talking probably £1,500 to almost £1,800 every weekend on tyres. Then your fuel on top of that. So you're talking for a normal weekend racing. If we go to Donington Park, Brands Hatch, or wherever, you're talking the best part of £3,000. That's without any blow-ups, any crashes, anything like that. That's your running costs. It's just mental, Beth. And everyone has to incorporate that. And the trouble is as well, the faster you go, the costs increase, because you have to put a new set of brake pads in every time again at £300. And it's just, the faster you go, the more expensive it gets. The faster you go, the crashes you have are bigger, which does more damage to the bike, and it's just a big snowball effect. And it is uber expensive. It's crazy, really. Again, we are all mental. You would be better off just standing in the middle of a field, banging your head over with a brick in your head. Do you know what I mean? And just throwing your money around. But the pleasure we get from it, and that's why I don't mind helping my young lad, because I'll understand the pleasure he's getting from it, because I've been there, I've done it, and and again, without our sponsors, it's fantastic that they're helping us live our dream, really.
And have you found it quite easy getting the sponsorship? Because I know some people sort of struggle going out and asking for that sort of support.
Yeah, again, up until this year, it's something that we've never really done as much. We've not pushed it, but this year, having Phil in my corner as well, helping, he's been able to get us, as a team, we've been able to go out and find a sponsorship through various different ways, creating CVs, emailing them out to companies, getting physical copies, dropping them into businesses all over, just to try and make it as easy as possible.
And it's a real professional setup then, isn't it?
Yeah, no, the boys have done a good job.
Yeah, Phil and Damien are amazing. Yeah. They're really, that's what's lacked it for me, because I can't sell myself. I've never been able to sell myself. Do you know what I mean? I've always just been, keep my head down and stuff, and just got on with my racing. Whereas Phil and Damien, they're just amazing at it. They are brilliant salesmen. I always think they should be used car salesmen. They are. They're really good at that, and you need that. You need that as a side of things. Because again, I don't do social media, so I can't do posts and stuff on that. So obviously, that side of things is big as well nowadays, isn't it? And I understand that, but I'm too much of a dinosaur for that. And it's like podcasts and stuff. I don't listen to podcasts. I just.
You'll listen to this one, obviously.
Yeah. But I mean, no, it's like it's a thing. Like Illiam listens to podcasts all the time, whereas I just listen to terrestrial radio. I just listen. I'll be listening to the Man in Line. That's what I'd listen to. Just somewhere I could switch the transistor radio on. And I'm just a bit of an old dinosaur, really. And again, the world changes, and like you say, the marketing team now have gotten the TT for the social media sides. It's massive. It's a big, massive content, and that's where it's selling it bigger and better and bolder to the rest of the world. And
it has changed, hasn't it? Even in sort of Parc Fermé and on the start line, that media interest. And I think sometimes it must be so difficult for the riders. And I'm guessing Illy actually probably wouldn't struggle perhaps as much as some other people having a microphone shoved in their face just as they're about to set off.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's where I try to protect the lads from that a little bit. And we are very conscious of that. And I do try to protect that, and like this new start line setup that we had this year was to try and help that a little bit as well, to try and alleviate the pressure from, again, I don't remember, we used to have like the crowds on both sides, and it was quite oppressive, whereas now we've just got it on one side. There can be the family and friends on that one side, a little bit more room for everybody, a bit more relaxed, and just, again, for riders' well-being, I suppose, and just trying to chill that out a little bit more. And, we're always constantly trying to work on that. But again, I always think it's a nice problem to have, that people want to interview you, and yes, it is a problem sometimes when you're stressed out and pressured and time conscious, but it's only for 2-3 weeks of the year. If it was like that all the time, it's a bit different, but isn't it? It's just for 2-3 weeks of the year. That's, for me, is a nice problem to have.
You must get stopped in the streets sometimes. A couple more questions. One of them, when did the Milky nickname first happen?
Well, it happened again when I was 16 and stuff, and I had my road bike, and again, like all the lads were going out, I needed another job. I was an apprentice mechanic. We used to work at Island Garages, and I needed more money for my motorbikes, so I got a job at the Ship-In in Castletown. I used to work there. I used to work at Paramount City at the weekends, so I'd literally work 7 days a week trying to get the money in. Like that's what you got to do when you go racing. That's the sacrifices you have to make. You have to just graft in. And, I wasn't fortunate enough to have a wealthy mum and dad or anything like that, so it was literally I just had to work for it. And one of the lads behind the bar, a fella called Al Cragine, he says, because I always went down, I always had a nice shirt on, even though it was like the ship in, it's pretty grotty in there. Well, it's closed now, I can say that, but it was a pretty rough pub in Castletown. But I always thought, well, no, I'm serving people, I want to be behind the bar, I need to be smart, so I always had a shirt on and stuff. And this Big Al says, he looks like, because I had blonde hair, glasses, and he says, he looks like the Milky Bar Kid, and that's where it came from. And it always stuck from there, and that was it. So having a nickname sometimes I always think helps you, because you're not just John Smith from wherever. It's like, Milky, because I remember I worked with a lad at work. He said to me, he says, "Oh, Milky, you want to drop that nickname? It's childish." I says, "Well, no." I says, it helps me because I'm different. I stand out, and you've got to stand out. The likes of, for instance, Guy Martin and stuff. He's an extrovert, and people want to be extrovert in their life, but they can't afford to be. Otherwise, if they're extrovert, they'll lose their job. They won't pay their mortgage. They'll lose their house. Then the kids won't. So everyone wants to be crazy and nuts, but 99% of us can't. So I think if you're a bit different and a bit odd, you stand out from the crowd, I suppose. So, yeah.
Have you got a nickname yet, Illy?
No, I don't. Illy's the only one, but again, that's through family and stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing, none as yet.
We'll have to think about that one, won't we? And obviously you mentioned working in Paramount City, and now you live there.
I know. Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, unfortunately, like I say, it's always been the bank of mum and dad for Illy for his racing. That's why, last year, we had to take a year off. We stretched ourselves to buy Paramount. Through COVID financially really killed us, because ultimately we had the shops and stuff, and my wife's a barber, and we were renting the shop, 2 shops off the person, and then basically we still had to pay the rent on it. And yes, okay, the girls got furloughed or whatever, but we still had to find the rent for that. There was no money coming in, and so that's all our savings went. And then I was still having to find a mortgage for the house, and I was thinking, I need to damage limitation a little bit. My commercial property, my business needs to pay me mortgage, really. That's what I thought. So I thought, well, let's buy a commercial property so that hopefully that will then pay the mortgage for us to live. So that was the reason why we bought Paramount. So we literally scrimped and saved and we bought it. But it's horrible. It is. Well, it's lovely. We love it. It's amazing, and it will be amazing. But
and what's the ultimate plan with it?
Cafe, bar, barber shop, and our house, really. So.
Is the dance floor still there? That's
I've reinstated the dance floor. The DJ stuff's back in there. The DJ booth, because you'll be able to sit in the DJ booth and everything. And I've kept a lot of things, but I've had to get rid of a lot of others. But we are making progress. Honestly, making really good progress. And hopefully Christmas, that's what we're aiming for. But again, racing gets in the way of stuff and work, and I'm still driving my bus every night as well. Do you know what I mean? To get the money in. So what I spend on the property in the morning, I try and earn back at night. And
you're doing a lot of the work yourself?
I do it all myself, yeah. All the stuff, yeah. Again, it's my OCD. I like what I want it right, so I just do it myself. I mean, obviously there's lots of things like the electrics and stuff I can't, you got to get certified and stuff, but I'll do everything, do you know what I mean? So I just don't like getting beaten. I think it's just a alpha male thing, and maybe just like a bloke thing, I don't know. You just don't like getting beaten, do you? So you're just like, well, even if it's trying to screw a bit of wood to the wall, I'm like, well, no, I'll get that straight. I'll get that sorted. I can do that. I'm not paying some bloke to come in and do it. So, yeah, and again, I haven't got the money to pay for someone to do it, because we skint ourselves out completely to buy it. So you watch all these Grand Designs programmes, don't you? And they always say, oh, yeah, we've got a 300 grand contingency. And I'm like, well, I didn't have £3 contingency. Do you know what I mean? So it's literally just, again, I don't want to go to the bank and borrow 300-400 grand again, and you're like the hamster on a wheel. And I want to try and keep it under control. So just as I'm earning it, earn me £500 a week, and I spend 510 at McBlair, and and that's the way it works. And I just little bits drip feeding it. And so yes, it would be nice to get it open and earn money, but I can't do that. I'm not in that fortunate situation where I've got a load of money to do that. So I've just got to be patient, chip along, and hopefully Christmas time now. I'm aiming for Christmas. I was aiming for TT Week last year. But yeah, so Christmas, I'm trying to, it would be really nice if I could get it home for Christmas. But again, I've got to find money from somewhere, and just means more hours on the bus and working as hard as I can. But that's all you can do in life, isn't it? Just work. And that's like he has to do in his race, and he just has to work hard at it, knuckle down, work hard at it, keep your eye focused on what you want. The end goal is where we're looking for, and I'm sure we'll get there. And, I always think if you want it, you'll get there. Yes, you've got to make sacrifices, and and yeah, let's have a go. Let's have a go.
Just funny, are you working outside of racing as well?
So I was working at a gym, and then when this opportunity come up with Phil, I just couldn't take the time off with how often we'll be away. So then Phil's took me under his wing, so I work with him now at Manx Property Maintenance. It's good because we both have the same time off, so we'll come back from being away Monday morning and straight back to work Tuesday. Again, whenever we're not racing, I'm working with him. Yeah.
That sounds like the perfect setup. And we know that your dad's a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to social media and stuff. Presumably you're a little bit better than that. Yeah. Where can people follow how you're doing?
On Facebook, the best thing will be Manx Legend Racing or IQ Racing on Facebook. And then Instagram is Illiam_Quayle_33 will be the best place to find me.
Amazing. Well, we wish you all the very, very best. Looking forward to you coming back after June next year and telling us what that first experience was like. And yeah, can't wait to see Paramount open again. You're still going to have the laser lights across.
Yeah, no, well, I've tried to find them. Honestly, I thought I'd discovered them in the cellar, but they weren't. There were some other little spinny things, but yeah.
So if anyone's got any lying around.
Well, I don't think you can do them now with air traffic control regulations, can you? I think so. But yeah, it's obviously going to be very biker themed as well. Liddy has to rein me in because I'll have a bike hanging off here, and she's like, no.
How many bike helmets have you got hanging from the...
No, we're on with that. We're on with that. We're on a real good feature with that and stuff. So it's going to be very, not biker related, but it's going to be bike themed, I suppose, and just, because again, it's our passion, it's my life, and I don't want it like a corporate Magnolia or anything like that. It needs to be funky, different. Yes, it might not be to some people's tastes, but it's to our tastes, and that's the most that's the most important way you've got to look at it. So it's got a lot of history. I met Liddy there. I met Liddy in Paramount, and I worked there for like 3-4 years behind the bar when I was a youth. So we've got a lot of history with the place. Again, we want to make it succeed. We want to make it better, and that's the drive again is that I want to make it good. And that's the thing. So yeah, nice to do, isn't it?
Oh, it's been brilliant talking to both of you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Richard Milky Quayle and his son Illiam. Just brilliant to talk to both of them. It is absolutely lovely to see what has been passed on to Illiam from Milky. I can't imagine really what Milky's going to be like next year watching Illiam on the start line, but Illy has a fantastic attitude. That relaxed nature I think is going to serve him so well for racing over here. And as I say, we do wish him all the best. You can find the link to follow his progress just on this podcast page. Thank you again for downloading this episode of Journey to a Dream. They're brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance, and you can find out more about them by going to kawasaki-insurance.co.uk. Again, if you've got a story that you would like to tell, if perhaps you once raced over here in the Isle of Man, or if you'd like to, or if you currently do, wherever you are with your racing career, I'd love to hear from you. BethSB@manxradio.com is the email address. And until next time then, take care, bye-bye.